check, and I get permission to go in and visit him during visitation days. And also we're able to take his items to him. They don't have a store inside that you load their account and then they buy what they need. Rather, it's family members outside who bring, on incoming days, who bring their items to them. So toothpaste, deodorant, 6 paperback books are things that I can bring in. He has to send out an empty toothpaste or deodorant in order for me to send in a new one. He sends out 6 paperback books in order for me to send in other ones. And brethren, he requests Bible study books. His paperback books are Bible study books, so he can Bible study for his cell block of 15. And so that's what our guy is doing in there. I'm going to tell you more about that in just a minute. He translates for us materials that we can then use with the Chuukese. And brethren, it's a laborious process. He's not a linguist kind of person, but we send in a book and he will translate it and he will ask me, what does the word indeed mean? Or verily, if he's translating a Bible verse. What does verily mean? And these are hard words to explain, you know, but he works hard at it and he translates. And I have in my backpack in the car a booklet, one of the Back to the Bibles that he has translated that we're now ready to make into a Chuukese version thereof. So that's our man, and he's leading Bible studies, and I'll have more to say in just a minute. Okay, let me take you over to Chuuk now, and we're not able to go into Chuuk right now because of COVID. Believe it or not, COVID just hit the FSM, the Federated States of Micronesia, and Chuuk is a state in the FSM. And so in Pohnpei, the larger main state, they have just gotten COVID within the last few months, and so it's very difficult to get in there. It's closed down. It's been closed down since February of 2020, and now they have COVID. So how about that? But when we're able to go in before that date, and now we do it online. I stay in constant contact with the brethren online. But we have Bible studies, and when we're there, we're able to do group Bible studies because the brethren are working during the day or at night, and it always changes. The number of jobs that exist in Chuuk are not enough to go around, and so they get what jobs they can when they can. They try to hold on to them, but it's just always changing. Every time I go in, different people are working different jobs, different hours. And some of the new contacts that the brethren have found while I was away, that they're working with and looking forward to me working with coming in, we're going to set the Bible study time for when they can come. So the first thing to do is to get with the brethren, see who's doing what, and when we can meet, what's the best time during the day or during the evening, and then set that Bible study up. Let everybody know, let them know when we'll be there to pick them up, and then get the Bible studies going. So we do that with the group Bible studies. That'll be the main event each day. And then around that, we'll have individual Bible studies. Here we are studying with Anita. And Anita, Joey here is baptized, member of the church, and is preaching for the congregation. But his wife Anita is not yet baptized. And so here we're having a Bible study with her. And then other individuals there in Chuuk. And this is a man by the name of Last. He was the last child born in his family, so they named him Last. The first child born in that family, they named Origin. And so that's it. And this is the kind of house, a typical house outside of the town area there in Chuuk. And so you'll notice there's no door. These sticks here, this is the door, and the pole will rotate, and so they can swing the door open. But as time has gone by, those sticks have fallen down, the door's kindly fallen apart, and that's usually the condition of things, kindly dilapidated. This is a house that's built with all local materials except for the nails and then the tin. And they will have salvaged as much tin as they can. They put the good pieces that don't have holes on top, and then they put the pieces that already have rusted out holes around the sides for the walls. And so if you were to approach this house, you would shuffle your feet on some of these banana leaves that have fallen down to let them know that you're coming, or you might call out Nasoranim, which means good morning, to let them know that you're coming, and you don't just walk up to the house and be peering into the house through the open door. And so that's customary. There's no door knocker. There's no doorbell. It's just a different world and a different way of doing things there, which is fine. It's not right or wrong to not have those things. Well, these Chuukese friends of ours will move from Chuuk to Guam, which is highly westernized. We have concrete houses. This is inside our home in Guam. And here, Rakenta is a member of the church. She moved to Guam from Chuuk, and then she started dating Otto. And so we're having a Bible study here. This is, I think, our second Bible study with Otto. And so it's a different world, a different way of doing things. Whenever they come over for a Bible study, she doesn't knock on the door, ring the doorbell, because she's not used to that. She sends me a message on Facebook Messenger, "We're here." And I know, okay, it doesn't mean that they're nearby, it means they're right outside. And so I'll go and open the door, and more than once I find Otto laying down on the front porch area because he figures these introductions are going to take a while, and he's going to let Raquenta do the introductions, and then when she's done, then we'll come inside. And so just a different way of thinking and different way of doing, which is fine and great. We take the Bible, and the Bible works with any culture. The Bible works to bring any group of people into what God wants them to do in the worship, right? And so that's it. And these little differences are what make mission work fun, really. So this is the world that they're used to, and this is Last, and Atrico's mother right there, and Atrico's son right here, as we're on the road to Epinoop on that day. Sometimes the brethren will ask for food, or even those who are not brethren. They have a mentality in Chuk that they think that the church is supposed to help them. And by church, I mean Christianity at large, all the denominations. They think the churches are supposed to help them. We understand that, and we do help them. There's a degree of truth to that. However, the best help we have to give is spiritual help, not physical help. And so there's an overshadowing of the spiritual help because they expect the physical help. Well, we work against that because we want to be known for and want to give the spiritual help and not only the physical help. So we do the physical help in a very limited way so that it is not our main item, and we help with the spiritual most of all. So sometimes they'll ask for food, and we'll do seeds and help them to have something that feeds them for a long time and not just for one day. It's hard to convince them of the value of that. They would much rather just have a handout right then. But we work with them, we try to help to change their thinking on things like that. This is Last, the translator. He's got a piglet. He'll grow that up to an edible size and then have it for his family. And so things like that where they're invested also. And then they can expect that if they come and ask us for food, that this is the kind of help we're going to give. And it helps to encourage them to come along, not just look for a quick, easy meal. This is a typical Chukis market, and you'll have your bananas here. These are sweet bananas. They're very small little bananas, about that size, maybe 4 or 5 inches long. And if you can imagine the sweetness of one of your large bananas compacted into one of these small bananas, that's how sweet they are. Very good little bananas. But that's not what most of the people eat most of the time. These triangular shaped, still green, and these ones are yellow, cooking bananas, which are not sweet at all. They're more like a potato, and they have different recipes that they can use for those, but they're called cooking bananas. And then you have the breads here. These are yeast rolls, and this is almost the only bread available in Chuk. There's a bakery that mass produces these breads. They do a few other small little things, but the people don't buy them. These yeast rolls are what sells. If you're an American living there, and I could count on one hand the number of Americans I know living there, just the number of foreigners, besides Filipinos. Some Filipinos come in for work, but otherwise foreigners like Europeans or Australians, very, very few in Chuk. If you wanted to go and have some whole wheat bread, you can find it, but you will pay between $8 and $10 for it. It's in the freezer section of the grocery store. There's no telling how long it's been there, but they keep that for people like you just in case, But it does exist, but it's rare. And so sometimes if the ships don't come in, then the foreigners don't get the foods that they're used to, and just a different approach, different way of things. Here we have Isiena out in Epinoop Village. That road I showed you earlier, that's going out to Epinoop Village. And that's the road that we would let the local brethren drive. If we're able to rent a vehicle that'll make the trip, then we'll let the local brother drive it because it's a very difficult road. A two-wheel drive vehicle can't get there. You can get 3/4 of the way there, but if it's a two-wheel drive vehicle, we know that we're going to park at this certain place and walk the rest of the way. If it's a four-wheel drive vehicle, which I was able to get back when Richard came to Saipan, we could rent a four-wheel drive vehicle in Chuk, but nowadays that's broken down and it's gone. And so I can't rent a four-wheel drive vehicle anymore. The other way to get to Epinoop Village is to take a boat and go around the island to the old, dilapidated Japanese dock. So Lava Rock. and it's sharp and jagged and edges. Well, we've got lava rock boulders that'll be as long as this aisle here going out into the ocean, actually as long as the church building, going out into the ocean. And the Japanese during World War II put a concrete topper on those lava rocks. And since that time, the concrete topper has eroded away and is gone. And so if you're going to go to Epinute Village, you're going to go to that dock and you're going to walk on the sharp lava rock. You're going to need good shoes in order to make it to the land and to the village. You can't really get closer because of the mangroves, the roots of the trees. You'll have to go to the dock. There is a path that you can go through the mangrove roots to get to the island, but then you're on somebody's private land. And really, as a foreigner, you need permission before you even get out of the boat to get onto the land. So this is what it is to get there. She puts her hand on my arm one day and said, "Joey, we need help out here." And what she meant was she wanted me or somebody to come more often, right? Because the church was struggling. And brother, we realize that, and we understand that. But number one, it's hard to get there. Number two, if you go in that two-wheel drive vehicle and walk the rest of the way and it rains, that two-wheel drive vehicle will not get back to town. It can't make it up the mud slopes to get back. So it's hard to get there. But brethren, strategically speaking, the other congregation in Naaman, which of in Christ not Naaman, we have to strengthen that one first, because from it we can have teachers go out to Epinute Village. And if we were to make Epinute Village our priority, the teaching at the Naaman congregation would suffer, and we could lose our position on the whole island that way. And so the church at Thessalonica, you remember what Paul said concerning them, "From you the word of the Lord has sounded forth." And so they're on the Ignatian Highway there, a major Roman road. And so it's important to have the church at Thessalonica strong so that the word of the Lord can sound forth from them. Well, that's what we've got in Chute. We've got to make sure that the Naaman congregation is strong so that it can then send teachers out to Epinute Village. But it's heartbreaking when they say, "We need help out here," and that's what she said. All right, now let's go over to Palau. And that was Chuk, and Chuk is a third world country. Palau is more like a second world country, and the difference is the infrastructure. Palau has a population of about 20,000 people. A number of those are Filipino workers. And so you're talking about a very small number of people to run the whole country. They are a standalone country, and that we have agreements with them where the United States pays for things and therefore has certain rights. But that's really very small. I think the U.S., the real thing that we have is just a foothold in the region is what we get out of our association with Palau. Well, Palau has associations with many other countries also for different things. And so it's the infrastructure. You've got just a few people to run the whole government, the whole country, and things like a proper water supply and a regular power supply. This is what make it a second world country. But as far as regular shipments of food, yes, they have that. All right, here we have our congregation there in Palau. And this is the sign had blown down at this point. I got pictures this morning of how they got the sign back up after a typhoon had blown it down. I've got to put those in the presentation. This is Ben, and he is standing in front of the prison there in Palau. His uncle is the chief of police, and he thinks that can enable him to be able to go in and have Bible studies inside the prison. And so here Ben is working to spread the word. Here we are inside the hospital in Palau, and we're visiting a member's husband, who the husband is not a member, but we're visiting him. Here's a gentleman with whom we've had several Bible studies. And then this is the man who's been preaching there in Palau. His name is Mino. M-I-N-O. And when he first met me, he knew that I was the preacher for the Church of Christ. And he said, "Hello, I'm Mino. Mino Jesus." Okay. All right. Very good. I said, "You're my kind of fella." And so then we had Bible studies, and he and his wife were baptized. So that was exciting. And then, brethren, COVID came along, and I'm not spending much time on COVID because you're tired of hearing about it, and I'm tired of talking about it. So we'll just go quickly. The governor wanted to keep people safe, and she wanted to shut down the roads. She did not have the ability to do so. So she used the U.S. National Guard to put up checkpoints to make long lines and encourage people to stay at home. Guam is a territory. Guam is a U.S. territory. It's not a state. We do have a state abbreviation. Next time you're filling out a form online and you have a list of states, look for GU. That's us. That's Guam. But it's a U.S. territory, and so strong military there. We have a bakery sign here, and what they wanted you to do, at times the bakery had to be closed. At times during the mandates it was able to be open. But when it was open, you'd call in your order and then go park in front of the bakery, roll your window down, turn the air conditioner off, wear a mask. They didn't want the air conditioner to blow particles from the mask outside. And so then the attendant would come out. And what was your order? Go back and get it and come and get your credit card or whatever you're paying. And then you go back in and run it and bring you the form to sign. So that's how they did some of the things during COVID. Some of our stores are not able to get shipments because of supply issues and were just completely barren. We never had food supply issues. There was never a rush on things. And so that was good. The islanders are a calm people. The islanders are a calm people. And when it comes to the church in Guam, you have the islanders, and then you have several members of the U.S. military. And brethren, they could not be polar opposites as far as how they approach situations. That is not talking about the scripturalness of anything. They're in agreement on scriptural things, but it's like an eldership. An eldership doesn't make decisions on matters of scripture. An eldership makes decisions on matters of judgment. And so here when you have the islanders' mindset very relaxed and you have the military mindset very, very structured, then they sometimes have long discussions to try to resolve those differences. So it's interesting, but they resolve them. During COVID, we made sure when we were not able to meet at the church building, we made sure the brethren had the Lord's Supper cups, just like what you had this morning. Here I'm delivering a Chuki's Bible to a man. Here we've delivered rice and a mattress. We had an extra mattress to this Chuki's girl. This is their favorite food. That's a 50-pound bag of rice. 50-pound bag of rice, and that's how they buy it. And so someone in Chuk will be working for $1.50 an hour, and they'll have extended family living in their house. And so you might have 10 to 12 people in one family unit, and they're working a full-time job at $1.50 an hour does not enable them to supply rice for the whole family for a given week. So how about that? Their favorite meat is canned meat. They would choose that over a T-bone steak, a fresh cooked T-bone steak, because with World War II, when we came in and it gave relief to the people, it was rice and Spam that we brought in huge quantities. And so the generation that's there now and even the generation before, they have a taste for Spam and rice, and that's their favorite food. And here we have my daughter Nina holding a stack of sermon outline books. We sent those to Palau to two men who were preaching there when we learned we'd not be able to go in for a while. One of the men wanted them in transcript form so that he could stand in the pulpit and read them. Brethren, I was very happy to supply that. Half of those books are transcript form. I'm just glad that he's willing to stand in the pulpit and to do the job because we need that, and so good for him. And otherwise, we were visiting during COVID and making sure that the people had what they needed. One of the interesting things in the islands is we can't get pews like this. The cost of shipping them over would be maybe 2 or 3 times the cost of having them built, and so both are just out of reach. So here's a Lord's Supper table. We have to build our own furniture, and we replaced it with this Lord's Supper table. And one of the things that we built this year was a tract rack. And that may not seem like a very important thing to you, but it is important for the islanders because they've never had one before. Most of those people never seen one before unless one of the denominations had it and they happen to see it that way. But it's something that they don't have. Here's the old tract area, these wire shelves over here, so they might get 4, 5, 6 tracts on there, but never a proper tract rack. And so, brethren, in the islands, we cannot pay and afford to air condition the building through the week. And so it's going to get hot in there and it's humid, 100% humidity all the time because it's an island. And these tracks, if not done correctly, they just wilt. In Palau, we had a tract rack and all of them looked like this coming over the top. And so the trick of that is the glass has to come up 4/5 the way of the track, and the track needs to be on wax-coated paper. So house-to-house, heart-to-heart tracks are all on wax-coated paper. And brother, we've got some good use out of that tract rack. We use it as an evangelism tool. And we use it to show the members that they need to be friendly to the visitors. Sometimes we have to, it's okay. Sometimes we have to tell people every little step to take, and that's the case with just normal life. That's the kindly normal for life. And so we encourage the members, when you see a visitor, then politely smile and do greet them. Don't assume that they're somebody's cousin. Don't assume that they've got everything that they need, or don't be shy, but rather they need to leave this building saying, that's a friendly congregation. Therefore, the membership needs to at least go up to them and smile, shake their hand, and welcome them. So this is one of the ways that we encourage the members at Guam to do that. We say, look, make sure that they've seen the tract record, and point out 4 or 5 of the titles to them and let them know that it's all free. And so you can have this thing. So it gives them a point of conversation when they see a visitor. And so things like that are what help to make a church evangelistic and help to get the mindset of the members thinking evangelistically and thinking in a welcoming way. So we have the tract record. And brethren, then also in the time that I've got left, I want to get to some black magic. You saw the black magic screen, and if we have time, we're going to talk about some black magic. But before that, we've had some good success this year at the Asin congregation in Guam. With COVID, the members of the military of the North Guam Church of Christ left the island. They were reassigned to other areas, and they left, and others did not come in. And so we were left with just a handful of Chukis members and my family up at the North Guam congregation. So we closed it. The people of the lease let us close out of the lease, and we moved those people to Asin. So not a negative church closing, but just people moved out of the area, and they were all military, and that was a military congregation. So they're down here at Asin, and now we just have the Asin Church of Christ there in Guam. And brethren, we went to Rob Whitaker's house-to-house, heart-to-heart School of Evangelism before going back last year and implemented some of the things that he was doing there in Guam, and it has worked wonderfully. 2 of the things I'm going to tell you about. The first one is compassion cards. And the idea behind this is that the church sends cards to people who are sick or who have a special need. But not a situation where you have one card and all the members of the church sign it, but rather where every member of the congregation who's willing to do so sends a card. And not even a husband and wife send one card together, both of them signing, but the husband sends a card and the wife sends a card. And the idea is to flood their mailbox and show them that there's a group of people down the street, the Terra Church of Christ or the Asin Church of Christ, who care about them and are thinking about them. And brethren, it works. There's a gentleman who I've been visiting with for over 2 years, and he's a self-professed cranky old man. He's an American on Guam. Yeah, now he'll tell you that he's cranky old man. He told me very early on, he says, listen, I'm very blunt, and if I ever say anything that offends you, please tell me, because I don't mean to. I'm just very blunt, and I've made scores of people mad through my life, and I don't mean to, so tell me. So he's self-professed cranky old man. And we were doing caroling one year, and the purpose of our Christmas caroling was to just touch base with different visitors, and we're trying to work into a relationship where I can invite them to a Bible study. So we do caroling, just my family, privately, house to house. So I told him, I said, well, we're going to do some caroling. Can we come by and my family, my kids, and we'll sing for you? And he said, yes, but don't preach at me. I said, okay. As this man's not used to caroling, he said, I'm not going to preach at you. I'm just going to come. We're going to say hello. But that's his mentality, and that's his attitude. And he's told me more than once, don't talk to me about church things. Don't talk to me about church stuff, because I'm fine, and I think everybody else is fine, and I don't want to talk about it. And that's his approach. That's his thinking. Well, brother, that's not right. And I'm still going to try. I'm still going to try to work with him. That's not a closed door. That's just a door that's not open yet. So we're going to keep visiting him. And so I have been doing so for 2 years, and not really making any headway. Every once in a while, just a little bit, but not really very much. And he has cancer. He has cancer, and it's going along and different things. He has dental issues that put the cancer treatment on hold, and because they couldn't do just different things. So I asked him, can I put you on our church's prayer list? And that's the way to do it, because you get their permission, right? I understand you're having this thing. Can I put you on our church's prayer list? And everybody always says yes. I don't know if anybody ever say no to the prayer list, because they want prayers. If they believe in God at all, and 89% of Americans believe in God, 75% claim to be Christian, 89% believe in God. They're open to that. Can I put you on our church's prayer list? Yes. So we do, and then the church sends cards. And then he let me know, hey, your church is sending me cards. I said, are they? And so over 2 week period, he received cards. And so I asked him later, I said, how many cards have you received? And he answered me immediately. You know why he could answer me immediately? because he had counted them, because it meant that much to him. He had reread them at least twice, right? And so I said, how many cards have you received? 19. We're a small congregation. 19 is a good number. And so it was enough to impact him, yeah. And I said, 19, is that right? He said, yeah. And so he said, I'm gonna come down to worship with you guys. I said, okay, well, you're welcome anytime. I've told you, you're welcome to come in just any time. And we don't push on people. We don't press on people. You just come and you can sit there and be anonymous, and it'll be great. We'd love to have you. And so he came, and it was raining outside. So he didn't get out of the car. He went back home. He came another time, and it was drizzling. So he didn't get out of the car. He went back home. And he came another time. It wasn't raining at all. So he didn't really have an excuse, right? So he got out of the car, and there he is right there. And so, brethren, the compassion cards are what did it. It tells people there's a group of people thinking about you. It tells people there's a group of people who love you. It tells people that this church is one of the good ones. You've heard about all the different churches and all of the different problems that they have, and people have issues with the churches and wish they'd never gone, and this and that and other, and there's cults and all of these things. There's bad things out there, but this is the one that loves you and sent you the 19 cards. And so that separates the churches in their mind, and it lets them know that this Church of Christ, okay, this is a good one. This is the loving kind of people that I've been looking for. That's what people think. This is the kind of church I've been looking for, but they're fearful of getting into one of the bad ones. So, brethren, it works. And the other thing that we've done there this year in Guam is back to the Bible, and I touched on that in the lesson a moment ago. We went over how to use Back to the Bible with the membership. And like I mentioned during the sermon, it's very, 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 very easy. The hard part of a Bible study is not conducting the Bible study. The little booklets walk you through it. A third grader could lead a Bible study. It's that simple. Don't have to know all of the answers. You read the verse, it reads the question, and then give the answer to the question. Very few questions come up because it's directly out of the Bible. You know how novel that is today in the religious world? People don't do that. People don't go to the Bible only like you do in the religious world today. And so you use Back to the Bible, and it's the Bible only, and it's straight out of the Bible. Brethren, that's novel, and people will accept it. So we went over Back to the Bible with people, and Rob in his lectures told about that Back to the Bible is 90% effective in bringing people to the Lord and getting them baptized. I heard that, and I said, yeah, right. I said, no way. There's nothing that's 90% effective. I would sell the farm and buy something if it was 10% effective, okay? But nothing is 90% effective. So, brethren, we took Back to the Bible, back to Guam, and we've been using it with people. And I can tell you, for those who finished the Back to the Bible studies with us there in Guam, it was not 90% effective. It was 100% effective. Everybody who finished these studies with us this year in Guam has been baptized. We didn't run into any marriage, divorce, remarriage issues. There's ways to work with that. What I mean by that is we present to them the scriptures, we teach them what the Bible says on the subject and give them the scriptures, and sometimes they have a decision to make. The Bible gives clear guidance for that subject. But we didn't run into that this year, and 10 people have been baptized in Guam this calendar year by using Back to the Bible. We had so many baptized, and what that does is it lifts the mood of the church and the atmosphere of the church. And so then we've got those fringe members coming back in. And brethren, we had to bring in pews from the side classroom. These are all hand-built pews, you see. We pews from the side classroom into the auditorium because we were too crowded. Once you reach 80% capacity, then people stop coming because they think of how crowded it is and how difficult it will be to find a seat. So once at 80%, you better increase the number of pews or something, or it'll start to turn people away. So we brought in more pews. We asked the people who sit on the second row to move up to the front row, the repentance row, right? So we're using all of the pews, and we did, and so that's what we've been doing. This is Isabella, and she's a member of the Navy. She works the submarine supply ship. So when the sub comes in, then they resupply the ship, and they have work to do. And so she met one of our members through a health-related post online, and the people coming in to Guam like that, or the military, are often looking for connection and looking for a religious home. And so we were able to use that and started the Bible studies with her. When it's a single lady like this, I step out. I help to set up the Bible study, and then I let Tammy and another lady in the congregation lead the study because it's more comfortable for those that they're studying with. And so Tammy and another lady studied with Isabella, and Isabella was baptized. She had two issues, and that is instrumental music. She grew up in a denomination, instrumental music, and then the absolute necessity of baptism. And so we studied about those. We sent her a sermon that I had done on baptism there in Guam. She wasn't there that day. And she was requesting baptism, but we wanted to be sure that she knew that what it was for, that she was convinced that it was necessary for salvation. Because if they don't think that, brethren, then it's not really for the remission of sins. And so after viewing the sermon, she called us over, and she wanted to be baptized. And so I talked to her. I said, Isabella, are you sure that you have to be baptized, that it's necessary? And with tears in her eyes, she said, I need to be baptized. And so then Isabella was baptized. She's now a faithful member of the church there at Assen. And then we have this lady. I can't think of her name. What's her name? June. This is June, and this is one of those situations where she's dating a member of the church. She's dating a member of the church, and she's not a member. And so we want to have Bible studies with her, but then their relationship starts to get rocky. And you think, well, there was our chance, and now we've lost it, and now she's gone forever. That's how it goes. Or you almost hate to start it up because you want the boyfriend to lead her into the right way, but he wasn't. And so we set up the Bible studies with June, and we left him out of it because we could see that their relationship was on again, off again. And brethren, we went through the Bible studies with June. He and she went through a big falling out at a time where they're not dating, and our studies went on hold, and then they got amenable again. I know they were really dating, but they were at least talking again, so the studies resumed again. And so even though it was on again, off again for a while, when she went through book 3 that talks about baptism, then she wanted to be baptized. And so it doesn't always go perfectly, but it often goes perfectly, right? Here you have Dagan and Hennessy. They were baptized. They were studied with by another member of the congregation, and they're living together outside of marriage. And so we explained to them, it was explained to them that they would not be able to do that. If they were baptized, then they'd have to live apart or get married. So they were baptized. He moved out that same day, if not the night before. I think it was the night before. He moved out, they were baptized, and then the next morning they were married, and he moved back in. And so that's it. And so we can get there from here, right? We can get there from here. This is Cora. We couldn't find a time to study with her. She's a very young lady. She's 18, and I could not study with her alone. It just was not a good idea. So Tammy was involved with it. But the only time we could really study with her was during the Sunday morning Bible class hour. Well, brethren, that's okay. It's not the most ideal time, but if that's the only time, then okay. We had the Bible studies with her several consecutive Sunday mornings, and she finished the books and she was baptized. And so we're very thankful for that. But it's all because of Back to the Bible and what it does. A trico translated Back to the Bible. We're using it. He's got a man in the prison who's requesting baptism right now. The islanders are relational kind of people. So it's more than just filling out a form for me to be able to go in and do the baptism. It's not just filling out a form. The chaplain has to know me and approve of me, to be completely honest with where it is, approve of me before I'll be allowed to go in there and given the stamp of approval. That's islanders versus normal U.S. action, right? So we're working on that. We're working on that and taking those steps. Here we've done the first of the Back to the Bible already, and it's in use. Brethren, there in the islands, we do funerals, and we do youth group get-togethers, we do service projects, and it's just an exciting time. We're deeply thankful for your involvement and for enabling us to be able to be there and do it. Thank you for your time this morning. May the Lord bless you.